I think we hone in our skills to use it for a better reason. That's kind of the philosophy I go after. Is like, I want to be just as good as, I don't know, a guy from Hollywood. I want to set the standards just as high. There's always been that, it's like Christian films are cheesy, but then the Hollywood
Not anymore,
is good.
though.
Not anymore.
Like,
They're
Angel
getting so
Studios
better.
is killing
Yes,
it.
absolutely. But I want to get in that bandwagon of like doing things to the best of. Just because we're Christian doesn't mean we have to do a bad job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you have to like get just as good as. And
Yeah.
so if that means using better technology or learning things and incorporating that in your workflow, then so be it.
That's part of what you'll hear in this episode of The Leadership Room with Amos Barnabas, a professional videographer. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just learning as we go.
You're doing great, dude. It's a good start, honestly.
Thanks. Building a media company, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just grinding it out. I know I'm glad to have you with me because we can talk about these things. I think you're excited about it like I am. I think you're seeing it.
Yeah.
The need for content and everything going on in that space, and how you can create this valuable content, repurpose it. I get made fun of a lot by people that don't understand what I'm doing. They're like, "Oh, you're nerd and all this stuff."
Yeah,
it's just
you're one of
funny.
those
My
AI
friends.
guys.
It's just really the friends that are like,
Yeah.
they just think it's funny that I'm doing this, but they also like they're happy for me.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's what we're trying to do too. Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see what this.
So
goes.
I've got Amos Barnabas. He's become a friend of mine. Video entrepreneur, Indian immigrant to America. Went to college in Missouri. We met him through the Missouri Governor Student Leadership Forum. Really glad he's sitting here with me to just have a conversation about media, because this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
This is kind of ad lib too. I wasn't like I'm scheduling these people that some of them are telling me no, I'm not going to do it because I'm not a big enough deal yet.
No way.
Yeah, well, I'm not getting that necessarily, but I'm getting some
It's like,
hey, let's wait till we see what you can do.
I see. Okay. Yeah.
But I'm glad you're sitting.
And they're going to be calling you soon.
Yeah, we'll see.
That podcast.
Hey, I just saw the Amos Barnabas one, and that dude is killing.
No.
I love it. So talking about your story, we'll get into that in a second. But your background in tech and videography and drone footage and the fun stuff you're doing. I want to talk about what you think the future is on technology. But this podcast, the Leadership Room, is really about the intersection of faith, leadership, and business. And so I really want to get your perspective as kind of a new professional in those spaces. So let's start with your story. You're an Indian immigrant. You've been in America for how long? Kind of go through that.
Yeah. So I think I came here as an exchange student about I don't know the math. 2016 is when I got here. So since then, I went to school here for a year, finished my exchange program, and then went back to India, finished my high school to get here for college. So yeah, when I was here, I met this amazing family, the Lookmeyers, and they just kind of took me in. I came in as a exchange student who didn't have a family to host him. So I had to find a family that would host me for the rest of the program. And I was just lucky enough to find them. And it was so random how I met him. And then they took me in, and I've been living with them since then. So I've just known him for that long. Yeah.
And you went to College of the Ozarks. Tell me about that experience. Being in the heart of rural Missouri.
Yeah.
Going to college.
People say, like, how do you find Missouri? It's like Central America. But so when I went to school here at Calvary Lutheran, people knew about College of the Ozarks, and they kind of knew that I wanted to go there, like come to the United States for college. So they're like, okay, that might be a great place because you don't have to really pay for your tuition. So my host mom took me down there, and we toured the college, and then I met with a lady at the admissions office, and she really liked me. She wanted me. So I think I got accepted then, but then the process was like 2 years long, right? So I had to finish my school, and then put in the paperwork for visa. So currently I'm on my student visa right now, and it's just an extension of the student visa
So
I
you were
had.
working through this while you were in India?
Yeah. So I toured the college, went back to India because my program had ended, and then so all of my paperwork process was in India, and then I did that. Did some wrong stuff, like I messed up my paperwork, so I had to wait another semester because I messed it up. So it's on me. But anyways, finally was able to come, and then I'm here in my student visa, and then I'm going back to college now.
Yeah.
So
So you've been away from your family for like these chunks of years at a time. Like how is that for you, being away from family so much?
I never. So when I was young, I would never leave sight of my mom. That's how close I was. And then as I got older, I was like, okay, I don't care anymore. So it didn't really bother me when I live in India, coming here, and then like a lot of people that did the exchange program were like homesick most of the time, and I was like, I'm doing great. And I've talked to him now and then. But yeah, so it didn't bother me, and went back to India. Can't wait to get out, and I got out of India and then been here. But then lately, I talked to them, but it's just, it's been 5 years since I've seen them, and I'm like starting to miss. It's like it's just not the same, talking to them on the phone, and it's different, So I'd love to see him again soon. So, but yeah, I now I'm realizing, like, I'm really not that tough. I thought I was tough, but it's like I miss him a lot.
That's a
So
lot.
yeah,
That's a lot to adapt to, and
absolutely,
you're building a career for yourself too.
absolutely,
As a professional, going through college. Now you're
right.
going to a master's program
Mm-hmm.
here locally at Lincoln University. And so, talk to me about that. Like, how do you get professionally into the space of tech and
Right.
videography, photography,
Yeah.
drone footage, stuff like this?
Yeah. It's always been a photography. Photography was my passion, and then when I went to college, kind of turned it into videography. And then, like I told you before, I just love doing weddings, so I watch tutorials on that and stuff like that. And I think I'm more in love with like the art of doing it. It's like handling the gear, getting your shutter speed, all that camera settings right. It's more like production that I'm really involved in, and love doing, than the post production, the editing and stuff like that. So, but I just love doing the stuff like flying the drone and things like that. It's just, I don't know. It's almost like you're playing with expensive toys. I
Yeah.
think the guys are, attracted to that stuff. So I think I'm one of them. So I just love setting up cameras and filming and stuff like that. So yeah.
I love it, because this is, we've talked to, I don't know how much, in the short amount of time that we've known each other, we've kind of fanboyed over technology and what's going on in technology, but it's a lot of fun, and some partnerships that we're creating actually to work together on some of the stuff. As I build a media company, you help me think about how to get that off the ground. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
But so tell me a little bit about your faith journey. You come from a very different world than America. Like, tell me a little bit about that, and what that looks like now, what it looked like when you were in America, you moved to America and you started learning the language, and
Right.
how does all that look, and how does that shape out?
Yeah, it's definitely a big learning, and I'm still learning. And I think we never stop learning about our faith. But oddly enough, even though I'm from India, I grew up in a Christian family in a Christian environment. South India is heavily Christian population, and then the norther you go, the more Hindu populations you see. So, so I'm from South India, and then so grew up in a Christian family. Knew all the Bible stories, and it's like almost you could say like I grew up in the church. So yeah, so like what when I was a kid, like whatever excited me, like the gospel and all that stuff, like it's just so old that when you hear it again, it just doesn't have the same effect as when you were a kid or when you hear it for the first time. So I kind of gone through my period of like just like hitting rock bottom at my faith. It's like, oh yeah, it's there, the gospel. Yeah, I know. It's like all head knowledge, but it doesn't make any difference. Until I got here, actually. I used to kind of jump between like pastors that I listened to. And then I don't know, they were all kind of, I felt like most of them were like, especially in India, the doctrines were like work based or fear based. So you do this and you get that, and which makes sense because in a Hindu culture, you attain your goodness, like you do good stuff to be rewarded by the gods and stuff like that. So coming from that culture, makes sense that that's how they see the Christianity. Um, but up until in my college days, that's when I started reading some really good books like Tim Keller and C.S. Lewis to a certain extent. Some of the stuff I don't like. The English was like super high. Like who is it? I think it's Oskin. It's like some of the stuff like their intellectual level and the English is so high that I can't even understand.
Well, that's the case for me. Like C.S. Lewis, like he's like, really hard to get through.
Right,
it's a little bit of old English,
exactly,
and also very intelligent, which is like not wheelhouse stuff.
It is crazy. But like I said, I went to a Christian college, so they made us read all these books, and I'm so thankful for it, because if it wasn't for it, I wouldn't have never, heard this new. I mean, it's not new gospel; it's just a different. I've never heard gospel explanations like C.S. Lewis or Tim Keller, right? And I think since I've started listening to Tim Keller, I mean, that man is amazing. Like, it's not hard. He makes it really simple to understand. So I think like every time I listen to his sermons, I'm like, man, I never thought, it's like new perspective on the gospel. So it really took a hold of me, and now I'm like, I definitely see life differently, sin differently, and things like that. So there's that maturity, but I don't know if that's what you're looking for.
No, the story behind it, where's God shown up? Because you've made some huge leaps in your life.
Right.
Most people your age, what are you? I don't want to get
20, 25.
You're 25.
So
you're not old.
At all.
Well, you're not. I'm in my 40s, and that's a long way away. But it happens quick. Like I remember when I was 25, I was like, look at those old 40-year-olds.
That's crazy.
Now I'm one of those.
Yeah.
But the reality is that you've been through a lot compared to what most people go through. Like the risk you've taken, the steps of faith you've taken. Yeah. Like I would never go to India, and like spend a good chunk of my formidable years away from my family. And not because it's India, just because I wouldn't have the fortitude to be like, I'm leaving my family, and not be away from that. Yeah. So where have you seen faith show up in big ways, that like stories that you lean on, that you're like, this really mattered to me?
Yeah. I mean, that's a really good question. I think, so it's like how God is so consistent and constant in your life, even though like you may go out of touch with him, like you're the one that's wavering, but he's always there. It's like, that's kind of the story with my life. Like God's always been there for me, like whether I understood the gospel right or not, like he's always there and he's doing the same work. But then now now I look back, I'm like, wow, I really didn't know what I was doing back then, but he still helped me, So I was like, and my understanding just changed and matured. Then I'm like, wow, that's crazy. Because I used to be like very materialistic, like, God, do this for me and I'll do anything for you. It's like, so like to come here is like one of my greatest desires, right? So it's like, man, just take
like
me.
As a kid,
I'm like, take me to the U.S.
Why?
So I don't know. I've watched a lot of Hollywood films, and I'm like, I want to go there.
So Missouri was the target.
Well, Hollywood didn't show Missouri. It's more like New York, Texas. But I was like, I don't know. It's just a desire. It's like, I want to leave India. I just want to explore, and I really wanted to, leave my hometown and then just explore some. And then I was like, and this was my, the end goal. Like I had nothing else. You come to the United States. That's all, and nothing else mattered. I didn't know what I was gonna do once I get here and all that stuff. But this was like end goal, and now I'm looking back, it's like that's so stupid. Why would that be? But even with that, that's just so like simple and very worldly or materialistic. But even with that, like I see God's faithfulness. Like it's like he obviously he brought me here. Like there's no way I did it all on my own. And then so there's that one example, but and that's like in a material way, but then in spirituality as well, like he's he's always there, and like feeding new understanding, just reaching out even though you're like sleepy or spiritually dull. He's always like trying to wake you up, and then it's like coming to you instead of waiting for us to go to him. So he's just always been so close. And like the story of like look at the birds, they don't worry about what they're gonna eat, and like that is so true in my life. Like he's the father, and he takes care of all of my needs so far, and I know that he will forever. So yeah, I've worried a lot lately. I've been like, I'm just not gonna worry about it. Like he's taken me this far, and whatever it is in the future, I'm like all good.
Yeah, we're on the same wavelength because I left my comfortable job, and it's
right.
different. I mean, I've certainly totally different scenarios. Dealing with different things, but that discomfort with taking leaps of faith,
absolutely,
and doing big things is certainly something where we rely on something bigger than us to help us know that like the worst is not the worst, because we're covered, we're taken care of, we're provided for. It's a big deal. Tell me, but like what's the hardest thing you experienced over the years, maybe the last several years?
School.
We were talking about your master's degree program. You don't want to write papers. That's the worst.
I hated school.
Can you just get like ChatGPT to write your papers now?
I wish I could. Can you?
I don't know. You have to ask.
I'm gonna do some research. That'd be awesome.
Surely they could help you.
Yeah. Help.
Yeah. It's not coming from me. I am not encouraging whatever illegal behavior this is. When Mosley don't tell him.
Yeah, we won't show him this part. No. Hardest thing, I don't know, man. I think I don't know. I think that's a really good question. I don't know. I think I've been blessed to not experience some of the hard stuff, but I mean, really, how you define it, right? The hardest thing I might have experienced is probably not the hardest thing for other people, or it's kind of relative. But I don't know. I think there have been moments where like I felt like I don't remember why, but I definitely remember the times that I felt hopeless. And when you're in there, it's like you don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. It's like dark. But again, when you come out of it and you look back, it's like that's so silly. Why was I feeling that way? When you come out, it's like I would go back in there and I'll feel comfortable being in there. You know what I mean? So, but I don't remember like a actual situation that made me feel that way.
So just like tell me about your transition. Like you come to a different country.
Yeah.
Come to Missouri. Middle of the country.
Yeah.
Very different than the coast. Very different than the Hollywood movies.
Absolutely.
Like how was that transition?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And did you speak English? Did you learn English at a young age? Or
didn't.
You had some background before, so you weren't totally learning from scratch.
No, I wasn't. Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess you could say that. I was a really bad student. So my dad put me in the best schools possible for me to learn English, and so India has a really class issue things. So you have to have a good job. You know how to have you know how to speak good English, and you have to have a good appearance. Then you're like one of the respected ones. So my dad grew up poor. He really worked hard all of his life, and so he wanted to set us up well, with the class system. That's how he thinks, So anyways, he sent me to one of the best schools, expensive school. We can't afford it, but he would send me there, work hard for it and stuff like that. At the time, I didn't quite understand the value of it. So crazy. I was not a good student, didn't do my homework, didn't learn all that stuff. But
did that just drive him like nuts? Like, was he upset with you for not giving the effort because he was putting everything?
He was a tough man. Like he wouldn't show, like, the way he shows love is by providing for you, like the best of everything, just top of the class. But then he expects something in return for his hard work. So that he was disappointed in me. But and then eventually he was like, okay, I put you in the best school. I failed the class, basically the year. I failed the year, so I had to repeat it. And he's like, okay, you're going to repeat this, but I'm taking you off this high school thing. I'm not going to pay for any of that stuff. So then he put me in the public school. And then, I don't know, it's just the fact that I've been there so long, I just picked up English, even though, I wasn't a great student. I just picked up English as good as an Indian person can at that time. My accent is still there. I fully can't really speak, but I can understand and communicate pretty well. So I go to this public school, and then he's like, wow. And then I'd really thrive in the public school because I'm like the teacher's pet or whatever. So still bad at academy, but but I do other stuff right, whatever it is. So then he's like, okay, maybe I should put him in a better school. So he takes me out and puts me in another really good school. That's where I get the opportunity to come to the United States. And like I said, it's always been my dream. But coming here, though, I was tired. Like the first day, I remember I landed and I couldn't talk to anybody.
How old were you?
I was like 17, I believe, at the time. And I came here, couldn't communicate to anybody because it's a lot of thinking to make a sentence out right, So I was doing that for a while and then got tired really fast. So I'd just go to sleep. Like, we're driving. I never fall asleep in the car, but until like when I got here, I was like, yeah, like car rides put me to sleep.
Yeah, you and my wife.
Yeah. So yeah, and I was like, they understood. The host people, like the ones that hosted me, took me around, they understood. So it took me like 3 months for me to reply to people and talk normally. So for the first 3 months, I would just listen, take it in, but wasn't able to like really give you a reply fast or normal. It's like it'd take me a long time to think of that stuff, and then over time, after that 3 months had gone, I was like, then I started. So then I realized the problem was I was thinking in my language, which is Tamil, and then translating it to English and then talking. But then over that 3 months period, I started to think in English, and that was easier, So like I don't have to do any translation; like it's already there. So even though I knew some English, majority and really most of it is I learned it here. That's how I learned.
I would imagine practicing it, being forced into it. It's like a real tester, or like a real growth mechanism for.
Yeah, and I had I had a love for English. Like I wanted to learn English. Again, some of it is motivated by the class system in India. It's like, oh, if you know how to speak English, you're awesome. Like people respect you, blah blah. So some of it is fueled by that. But at the same time, like I thought I was pretty good at English than my own language. Not talking, but as far as writing and reading goes, I was pretty good at. I was actually better at English than my own language. So right now, I can't even read and write Tamil, which is kind of silly.
It wouldn't take that long for you probably to get back into it.
I never got it, even as a kid. That's why I was such a bad student. It's like, yeah, I still don't have it. But I hope, if I have kids, I hope my kids do well. Yeah, but I'm not going to teach them.
You'll get there.
Yeah, so that's how, it took me a while to get it. It helped that I was here living full time, and that helped. But it was hard. Yeah,
I bet.
But it's not the hardest thing.
So tell me about leadership, like, this intersection of faith and leadership.
Like,
who were leaders that stood out, mentored you? You had your host family that really, they've loved you for years and, have helped create some opportunities for you. Like, Tell me a bit about leadership and what you think of like what stands out to you in your experience.
Yeah, that's a. I mean, I've witnessed both good and bad qualities of leadership over the years. But I think the ones that stand out to me is like the act of selfless steadfastness and love. When I think about good leaders, I haven't been in the corporate world yet, but when it comes to just your everyday leaders that you see, like whether it's your dad or mom or people that just rightly above you, they're there. Obviously, they have other responsibilities, but what I've seen is like they're there, caring for other people, not just for themselves. And I think that's what makes a good leader is that it's more than just the responsibilities of a leader, but it's more than that. It's like caring for, and that's what makes it a Christian leader. Because it's easy to be just, I'm really good at this responsibility, I can do it, and yeah, sure, that's leadership. But what makes it a good Christian leader is like going that extra mile, like following the example of Jesus.
Yeah. It's really neat. I've talked about this over and over now in the podcast because I just use the person of Jesus as an example for leadership. And he was influential, the most influential person ever walked for reasons. Like, so what do you learn from that? What do you, as a leader myself in the legislature and in life, and like, what do you take from that? How do you become? The reason you become more like Jesus isn't just because you want to get to heaven or whatever. It's like there are principles in there that you learn in your life and in your community and the people you have an impact on, that stand the test of time, because the most influential person that ever walked gave us the example, and so you have to, at least in my opinion, what I've tried to do is just try in moments, although I fail constantly,
absolutely,
like to replicate that effort to show people you care about them, go the extra mile to take care of people. And I'm not great at this, and I'm pretty can be pretty bad at it at moments for sure. But the person of Jesus, like what example did he give us? And that makes us, and I think leadership is basically influence. Like,
absolutely, yeah.
It's not just being at the front and being the loud guy and saying, "Hey, look at me, and I can do this, and if you follow me, we'll do great things." It's influencing. It's being able to influence. Like, so I care about you, and I serve you. You're going to be more apt to want to be influenced by my thoughts or my actions or my vision or my mission. And those are crucial points to who Jesus was as a person. It was his care for people that really put them over the edge, that made him influential, made his disciples go out and like die horrible deaths because they followed this man. It's just wild. And that's the piece of leadership that I really want to kind of expose. Like, hey, what's real leadership? What's real influence in this podcast? Like, how do we get to some understanding what that is? Because I think most of the people that I'm going to talk to have that desire in them. They're in some type of leadership role, or they want to get there.
I think it's so easy to be a leader nowadays. Like, you have a social media platform, and then you just start influencing. Like, it's easier to be like an influencer, and then like be a leader, and then you just start talking about what you're passionate about and stuff like that. But then it's really hard to, like, what Bible says, like, and deny yourself, and follow me. Like, that's the hard part. And so if you want to be like a leader like Jesus was, that's really tough. You have to put the work in, and you don't do it to justify your existence, or you don't do it to be like, oh, I got to do something right. It's just like, literally, like you said, following this example, like, not to go to heaven, but it's just, why do you do it? Just because you love them. So
So take that, like, those ideas and tell me about your business. Tell me the name and what you do and the space you're in. Because that's, I want to get into that. That's the, other like leadership stuff. Feed the faith is important. I don't want to diminish that, but like, it's fun to talk about this stuff with you, and I know you know a lot about it. So I just want to like glean some things from.
Absolutely, yeah. When I met my host family, they kind of always helped me with things and financially and everything, spiritually too. When I graduated, I had this vision to like start a media company. So I wanted to do my OPT, and what a better place to do
What's
it.
OPT?
OPT is optional practical training after you finish your college. It'd give you a year to work, and so then I convinced them to and it has to be related to your major of field of study. So mine was video production, and I convinced my host family to start this business where I could do my OPT and then kind of help them, off the ground and stuff like that. So we got to do that, and basically we provide video services and photo services
What's the name
locally.
of it?
Big Lake Studio.
Okay.
Big Lake Studio.
And
Yeah.
what made you interested in video and doing stuff like that professionally?
Yeah. So like I said, photography was kind of my initial passion, but then the school I went to didn't have photography a major, so I was like, okay, I didn't know anything about video, but I'll do it, But then when I got into it, I just realized how fun it is to, handle gears and whatnot. So I was like, man, this is it. This is the life I want. So and I don't know, I'm more like, so there are people that are just into the art of storytelling. That's what they're there for, and they don't know the technical stuff of a camera and all that stuff. But all they care about is story, which is awesome. I can't do that. But I'm on the other side, like technical side. I fell in love with that and the gears and all that stuff. So and then when we were thinking about this opportunity to build this business, we had to buy gears. I was like, no way, It's like, so we had a budget to work with, and I just had a blast,
Yeah.
getting all the gears and line them up and setting them up and things like that.
That's so great. And
yeah.
what are you seeing coming down the pike in the media space? I'm obsessed with this stuff. It's why I started the media company. It's why I like doing podcasting. I think all this stuff is growing. Content creation is going through the roof. The demand for it's going through the roof.
Yeah.
I'm getting people asking me all the time now, like, what's coming? What do we do? How do we make use? People are on their phones all the time. How do we get in front of the people on their phones? So
Yeah.
like, what do you think about all that? Like, what's coming down the pike?
I think when I think about video production in my field of work, is like using what's out there available and utilizing it. Like, a person that's not a believer or whatever, is so good at mastering these skills, and then they turn around and use it for the wrong reason, right? So, but then we have a greater calling. We, as Christians, we have a good responsibility, and it is, I think, for Christians, it's important that we learn the same things that the non-Christians are, learning, mastering. I think we hone in our skills to use it for a better reason than to just use it for whatever cause, right? So so that's kind of the philosophy I go after, is like, I want to be just as good as I don't know, a guy from Hollywood or whatever, right? Like, I want to set the standards just as high. There's always been that it's like Christian films are cheesy, but then the Hollywood
Not anymore,
is good.
though.
Not
Really,
anymore.
like
They're
Angel
getting so
Studios
better.
is
Yes,
killing it.
Absolutely. Yeah. But it used to be that
I keep
that
posting
yeah.
LinkedIn. I think people are kind of tired of hearing my stance.
I still need
Angel
to see.
Studios.
I still need to see that movie, and I've heard it's heavy. That's why I'm like hesitant to go
I have
see
3
there.
young daughters, so I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's like,
I don't know that I want to watch Sound of Freedom, but
yeah,
I've got to also. It's
right. I
it's
think you need to. Yeah.
a game changer.
So like, but I want to get in that bandwagon of like doing things to the best of, just because we're Christian doesn't mean we have to do a bad job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you have to like get just as good as, and
Yeah.
so if that means using better technology or learning things and incorporating that in your workflow, then so be it. So yeah.
I just met with a church this morning about this, and I talked to you a little bit about it. But
yeah.
I made the case that you all need to be in front of people. Like you're not changing the fact that people are on their phones all the time. You may be able to make like on individuals who are like have some addiction or have some problem with it. You may be able to get them move the needle a little bit on how much time they spend on their phone. But the reality is that people are on their phones all the time. Everybody. I was having this meeting and there are several people in this meeting, and some of them were on the phone in the meeting. So and I don't have any problem with that. I'm just saying, like, if you want to battle these things, you have to battle it in front of people. You have to create the content. You have to be where people go, as opposed to them going to the bad content. You've got to create the good content they need to see, because you're not changing whether or not they're on their phones or not for 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, that's the norm right now. Yeah,
like you've got to get in front of people, and the only way you can do that is you create the content. And these guys, they're good at what they do. They're phenomenal. You know, they have great content. They're doing a sermon every week. Like, you know, use a sermon, make use of it better. Use social media, like repurpose it into short form content and get in front of people. Yeah, because what you are talking about, people need to hear about. And
the greatest thing about like working in that field is that people are always like struggling to get content out there. Like, hey, what's the new idea? What's going to be popular? What can I talk about? Blah blah blah. But then you got a weekly sermon that's just coming out the pipeline, and then all you got to do is, you know, cut them up and then distribute them. You know, that's like you already got the content. You just got to film and distribute. So it's like really a cool opportunity for them.
Yeah, let's just use it.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
Like, don't fight it. I mean, fight it where it's needed individually.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
But on a grand scheme, you're not going to control the culture that's moving just to be dialed into their phone nonstop.
Right. Yeah.
Like I am.
Yeah.
Like, be in it. Lean into it a little bit and figure out how are you the solution in that space.
Yeah, and I think people are doing a better job now.
I think so too. I think they're recognizing it's a lot easier. There's so many tools, like even AI. We talked about this earlier, like the ability to use AI to repurpose content and to make like these will take away jobs because they will reduce the amount of time it takes to edit video or to create new videos or splice up videos, whatever.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
But the people that are using them are going to create real opportunities to create, like us. We're going to try to use it to create this media business.
Right. Yeah.
But there's a huge market of people out there like, hey, help us figure out how to do this.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Help us.
I just talking about AI. I just did a wedding photo editing with AI. Blew my mind. I was like, it took me like total of 30 minutes to actual working time. Like, you know, if you get rid of all the waiting and stuff. Just
so you use like Adobe's Firefly or whatever.
Yeah, Lightroom. And I just send them my catalog, and then I tell them how they want it, you know, what the preset is or whatever, and then the AI learns it. You have to upload a certain number of image to the AI system, and then it learns your editing style.
So you take the old stuff,
exactly,
and you're like, hey,
and then you tell it,
like
yeah,
this.
exactly, make it like this, and then it does.
That's incredible.
It's crazy. It took me like 30 minutes, and then all of my pictures are just as good as my previous ones.
That's amazing.
And I was like, wow. You know,
so how much time does that save you? Like, so it took you 30 minutes, but a typical wedding in the past,
I mean, it takes me a week or and a half, or even
how many hours
2 weeks. Total? I don't know. I haven't really kind of kept track of that.
Dozens of hours to go through one.
Plenty of hours. Yeah. Because you have to go through every picture, and then you have to edit every picture. So, you know, each picture for me takes about like 30 or 40 seconds. And then I usually take about 2,000 picture wedding. So that's a lot of photos to go through. So by the time I'm done, it's like, first, I'm really exhausted mentally. It's like looking at pictures all the time. And then the colors that I have to deal with, I'm like tired.
I mean, if you do 2,000 photos, they take you at best 30 seconds per photo. You're talking about 1,000 minutes,
right?
Whatever that is.
I don't know.
That's 15, I don't know how many hours that is. So like 17 hours, something like that.
Something like that,
just for editing.
Yeah, but then
now it's
over time, you know, by the time you take a break and all that, it's like you're in the weeks and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I mean, it's done. Now I just got to, you know, I obviously have to proof it. Proofing it a lot more easier than going through all the pictures and editing it.
That's amazing.
So yeah. So I mean, I completely don't trust it. I'm not like, do I just send
You
it
still
to
have
my
to, yeah, you
I
don't
still
just
have to
like
do
get the file
quality
and you're like,
control.
hey, you got it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So their fingers aren't weird.
Exactly.
AI is like
It's like,
with hands.
yeah, it's really bad at generative.
These
Yeah,
are
yeah,
worse.
yeah. It's not quite that good, but
There's some of it's crazy. You know, Jason, our buddy,
right,
he's designing a magazine for some clients, and he was, you know, he'll get these little headshots that have just like a box,
right.
and he needs a bigger picture. So now he's using Adobe
To
and he's
fill in
the generative
box. Yes,
AI.
yes.
He's filling in the space,
Mm-hmm.
and it's giving him a background that makes a ton of sense. It's incredible,
crazy.
man. It's
Yeah.
like it's terrifying, but it's incredible.
It is good. Yeah.
And I've heard this quote that like AI is not going to take your job, but somebody using AI is going to take your job.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what I subscribe to at this point.
Right. Yeah.
Even though there's also some terrifying things AI is doing that I just try to not think about at all.
Yeah. 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 It is. I mean, it's definitely scary to think about, but I feel like if you don't get on it, you're just missing out on opportunities, man.
What else in the media space that like do you think is just a big deal that you see coming down the road, or that you're seeing in your own business that's worth knowing about? So when people see the business side of this podcast and they're like, hey, Travis isn't just a sounding gong, but here's like content creation and media and video. Like, these are the things coming from an actual guy that's doing the video stuff.
Yeah, I think when it comes to that stuff, you know, I think I've talked about AR stage and stuff like that, but all of the big tech now, we've been in the period of like only Hollywood can use it. Now they're getting into the hands of just regular people. Like, and I think main cause is iPhone, you know? So like, you can set up obviously need a lot of iPhones to do this, but you can set up your iPhones in a way to where like you can make a 3D model out of yourself. You know, it's like before you couldn't do that, you know. What I'm trying to say is it's very accessible, all these high tech things, and I am looking forward to just using those and learning how to use them, and then using them in my workflow. So I still need to do some research, but just kind of thinking about them just makes me so excited.
Yeah.
So
what would you recommend to somebody who's like doesn't know what they're doing, but they're kind of excited about new media opportunities? Like where would they start, or what recommendation would you say to like, hey, here's a good place to learn more, or this is what you should be doing as a professional? Like what path should you be taking?
Yeah, I think so. It's really easy to learn anything nowadays, especially because of YouTube, and the YouTube model of business is crazy. And I used to be a skeptic of online course sellers because I was like, man, it's just waste of money. But then until I bought some course out of those YouTube sellers and whatnot, I think there's definitely value to it, and it's okay for them to sell it. You know what I mean? Like they definitely invested that time to learn certain things. So I think most of my knowledge comes from, even though I went to school for video production, most of my knowledge comes from attending workshops and following these, YouTube people that do these jobs full time, and they're in the big places like Hollywood and stuff like that, and they teach you. And even if they sell a course out of it, it's still worth it to buy that stuff and learn it. And I've definitely learned a lot of stuff through that. So I'd say I'd encourage people to just go hop on there and get some. But you have to be careful. Like if they're not providing any valuable information online, they just want to sell you stuff. I don't think it's worth it.
That's scammy.
It's like it's very scammy. Yeah. So you have to be careful, but at the same time, I think it's worth that risk or investment.
Yeah.
Putting that money in to learn a lot of stuff.
YouTube's amazing, man. Like a lot of this room is because of YouTube. These sound panels me and my buddy built these.
No way.
And well, I mean, he built the frame because I'm not handy, but I did the fabric, which you can kind of tell it's a little bit crappy. Like I couldn't cut it right on the back side, so you see a little. Don't point it out. Don't point it out where you can see it. But the insulation's in there, and I stapled them to the board and all that. Like and
Right,
then
right.
this setup, like this is all just conglomerated around it. But a lot of it is YouTube stuff that just got me pumped up from
like I said, I mean,
people
this
that I
is a
trust.
great start. Yeah.
YouTube's amazing. Like
Yeah.
the stuff you can get from YouTube, the training, the learning, I just geek out about technology too. So
Yeah, I don't know if you follow this guy, MK Marcus
PhD.
Brown. Yeah. How do you say
Marquez Brownlee.
Brownlee. Yeah.
Brown.
I don't know his name.
I don't know.
MKBHD.
MKBHD.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I subscribe to
Love
him.
that guy.
He gets his hands on all kinds of technology.
I know.
So I'm like,
now
I'm
his
really
studio.
excited
Have you seen any walkthroughs of his studio?
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It is so big. I don't know. I mean, and
it is so cool.
He's such an overkill, but again, like,
but he's
I
not
love
though.
that.
Like
he's
it's
makes
like
it so
Mr. Beast.
simple.
Like these guys are creating the best of the best content.
Exactly.
And people want to watch it because every time a new iPhone comes out or new technology, like I want to know what MKBHD has to say.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I just love his video. Like, it's not just, he doesn't stop with iPhones. He goes crazy, man. He goes way beyond.
Yeah, he does the Google stuff.
Yeah.
You can have all the non-iPhone stuff. I'm just like all in on the Mac. And I wish I could be like the unboxing guy that could just talk about that. That's just so in the weeds. I'm like, what is a Google Pixel phone like? And I'm like, I don't care.
I don't know.
I just want to talk to people that are having big impacts on the world, or doing interesting stuff, or have been through interesting stories like yourself.
Right.
Where like I would love to do an unboxing, but I don't have. They put a booth. They put like a white box or whatever they call the box booth, where it's like they have just a booth they built in their space, and
then they put the phone in there,
and they have a robot, like a $500,000 robot.
No way.
That they can do. And this is the last video that I saw of his. He talked about, they did a tour of his studio and they were asking him questions, and he talked about the robot, and he said, the reason why we spend so much money on our facility is because we're creating these videos like no one else can. Nobody knows how to do. Like he has a robot arm and it shifts and like stops, and he's like, nobody else can get those angles.
Right.
Because we put a camera on ours and we shift it around a product.
Yes.
And it gets all these cool angles. It looks sweet, with my voice overlaid on like a review of the stuff. Nobody else is doing this because they can't afford a $250,000 or $500,000 robot.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It was really cool.
But
to
then
watch.
the production quality just goes.
Yeah.
That's the thing I was talking to you about. Yeah. It's just like using those different technologies just raises your standard.
So you need to do the unboxing stuff. I'll do interviews with people, and then
there you go.
Let's like geek out together. I'll be around to watch. But you become like the MK.
I wish I was knowledgeable or did spend more time like on the tech stuff, but maybe we have to hire an expert to do that.
Yeah. Well, you're talking about this like green. It's not even a green screen, but like these LED screens.
Yeah, the LED screen backgrounds.
The backgrounds.
It's crazy. It's recently a new development, but that's how the Star Wars series are filmed. I mean, it's all happening in a warehouse. One warehouse. I mean, they set it up for different scenes, but it's crazy.
They're making way too much Star Wars stuff now.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
think they're finally like, hey, we need to shut it down now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like they're ruining Star Wars because there's no mystique anymore. They're answering all the questions. It's like, okay, well,
like they've kind of went out every possible ways to create a story out of it. Yeah.
The first one they made when they came back was excellent. The first one.
I see. What's
like
that? What
in
was
2017, whatever it was. I don't remember the name of it. When there was some mystery around.
Was it The Force Awakens?
Something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
And then the second one, they got weird with Luke Skywalker. And they had different producers for everyone. So you're like, each has a different vision.
Yeah.
And it's like,
well, anymore, it's just like
silliness.
Great big business and whatever makes the most money.
I mean, that's for sure, because we've spent money. We have all these Star Wars products. I have like Star Wars Legos out the wazoo because I love Star Wars. I grew up with Star Wars.
Yeah, Disney's got it made. They know what they're doing.
Well, they've also they're also struggling right now because they there's all kinds of political
stuff
to it.
Yeah.
It also feels like they're doing the wrong things. Like they're going crazy with Marvel, they're going crazy with Star Wars, they're ruining those franchises, so they're running them into the ground. It feels like they are getting way too political, and so you're seeing Disney struggle. They're ESPN,
I think it'd be the good time to buy stocks, right?
Oh my gosh, maybe they're really far down because all their media products are all woke, and they're all all of their media personalities are these people that want to have a political say when people just want like ESPN.
You just
like
want
I grew up
a
with
good
ESPN. I just want to watch
environment.
sports.
I mean, in entertainment. Yeah.
Give me highlights. I want to see highlights. I don't want to see your opinion on politics today.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I just think, they're
No, I agree with you. Yeah. We went to the Disney World recently, and I witnessed all of it. Yeah. But I mean, they've got it set up to where like they're making money left and right.
They could,
but it's definitely woke.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is. Yeah.
Well, Amos, man, this is super fun.
Yeah, thanks
love
for
that you joined me.
doing this.
We'll see what we do with this. Like I'm gonna release this stuff here really soon, and I look forward to dropping this stuff and partnering together on the video stuff.
I'm excited.
I need your help. Some of these contracts we have coming up. So
yes,
I look forward to it. All right, brother. Thanks,
Thank
man.
you.